This is a video that gives you examples of how to do the problems on the Unit 1 review. So on number 1, you are given 5 ordered pairs, and you're asked to list the domain and range. Domain are your x values. So we list them with the solution set. So one of my x's is 4, and that's the first number in your ordered pair. I have a 2, 0. Now I have another 2, so I don't need to list it again, and I have another 4, so I don't need to list it again. So the domain for this set of ordered pairs is 4, 2, 0. And then the range are the y values. So again, we have the solution set. -4 is one of my y's. +2. And then I have a -4 again. I don't write it twice. I have a 1. And I have a +4. So that is the range of the set of 5 ordered pairs given. So on number 2, you are shown a picture of a graph, and you are asked to determine its domain and range. Again, the domain is the x values. And so when we're looking at a graph, we always look, when we're looking for domain, we always look for the lowest x value and then the highest x value. So on this graph, and remember the x-axis is the one that goes side to side. So this graph will eventually go up and to the left forever and ever and ever. So the lowest is -infinity, and then it will go positive forever and ever. So +infinity. And on Math Excel, I believe it shows something like this: -infinity less than x less than +infinity. And all parabolas have a domain of -infinity to +infinity. So then the range is the y value, and it's always the lowest y to the highest y. So in this case, the lowest y value, so this is the farthest that this graph goes down, and this is my y value. So the lowest is -2, and then that graph will go up forever and ever, so +infinity. And on Math Excel, it probably shows something like -2 less than x less than +infinity. So that is domain and range. And then it does also ask you if this graph is a function. And this one is a function. And it is a function because it passes the vertical line test, which if you put a vertical line through the graph, it only touches in one point, and that indicates that it is a function. And the reason is because it passes the vertical line test. So on number 3, you're given a set of 5 ordered pairs, and you're asked if this is a relation. Well, on number 2, we knew that it was a relation because we saw a picture of a graph and we knew that it passed the vertical line test, but this is not a picture of a graph. So we are going to look at the values in the ordered pairs, and we're just looking at the x's. To determine if it's a relation or not, we only look at the x's. So I have a 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And since those are all different x's, then this is a relation. And so the reason can be that no x's are repeated, because all of those x's are different and they match up. Even if they match up with the same number, they are all different from each other. On number 4, you're given a function. This one is f of x equals 19x plus 12, and you're asked to find the function of 3. So what that means is you are going to put that 3 in for the x in this equation. So your work will look like this. Equals, and I've got 19, and then instead of putting the x, I will put that 3. And then I have my plus 12. And then I'm just simply finding the value of that. So in my calculator, I can put 19 times 3 plus 12. And that should give me 69. So the answer is just simply whatever value you get once you have put that number in for the x. So on number 5, you're asked to find the slope, and you're given the slope formula of m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then you're given 2 points. The first thing you should do is label your points. So this is x1, this is y1, x2, y2. And then I'm going to use my formula. So here I've got the m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm just going to go down the line here. M equals, okay, my y2 was a negative 7 minus, and my y1 was a negative 9. So I have to put the negative 9 in parentheses and then over. And my x2 was 10 minus, and my x1 is 5. So then I'm going to simplify. And I need to kind of clean up the top of that first. So m equals negative 7, and that negative, or that minus a negative, would give me plus 9 over, and I can go ahead and clean that up. 10 minus the 5 is 5. I'm afraid I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to move over here to the side. So now I've got negative 7 plus 9, and use your calculator if you're not real good with negative numbers. So this will be a positive 2 over positive 5, and that is your slope. On number 6, and this is number 6 on Math Excel, but I believe it's number 6 on the packet worksheet that Mr. Hedrick gives, so just keep that in mind. So you're given this equation, you're asked to graph it and to find the slope and the y-intercept. Before we can find the slope and the y-intercept and graph it, we have to solve this equation for y. So the first thing I'm going to do is minus 3x on both sides of my equal sign. That cancels that out. So now I have 4y equals, and I want it in y equals mx plus b format, so negative 3x plus 12. And then I'm going to divide by 4 all 3 terms. And that leaves me with y equals negative 3/4 x plus 3. So my slope is the number that is in front of the x. So in this one, my slope is negative 3 over 4, which means when I go to graph, I will have to go down 3 and to the right 4. And then the y-intercept is 3, and written as an ordered pair, it's 0, 3. So then when you graph, you always start at the y-intercept. So that is where you will start graphing. So number 7 in Math Excel and number 6 on the packet for Mr. Hedrick, you are given the slope and a point, and you're asked to take those two pieces of information and then write an equation in y equals mx plus b format. So the first thing I would do is label my point. So this is going to be x1, and that will be y1. And the formula that you should be using, we had to change it because I had it wrong on the paper. So the formula that we want to use is the point slope formula, and it's y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. So this y stays, and then I have the minus, and then I'm going to substitute in the y1, which is 7, positive 7, equals my slope. I'm going to substitute it in, so that's negative 8. And then parenthesis x minus, and I'm substituting in the x1, which is negative 8. And so I'm going to simplify this. So my next line will look like y minus 7 equals, and then I've got negative 8 times x plus 8, because that negative 8 makes that a positive. And so I'm going to run out of room, and I need to finish up here. So then my next line will be y minus 7 equals, and then I've got my negative 8 times x, so negative 8x, and then my negative 8 times positive 8, negative 64, and I'm almost there. Now I just need to get the y by itself, so I'm going to add 7 to both sides of the equal sign. So now I have y equals negative 8x, and then use your calculator for negative 64 plus 7, and that should give me negative 57. And then this is my new equation written in y equals mx plus b format. So on number 8, you are given an equation and you're asked to graph it, but instead of graphing using the slope and the y-intercept, you're asked to use the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So to find the x-intercept of this equation, we are going to put 0 in for y. So when I rewrite this equation, I'm going to write 3x minus 9, and then instead of the y, I'm going to put 0 equals negative 9. And then I'll solve for x. So this is 3x, and really negative 9 times 0 gives me 0, so I don't really have anything, equals negative 9. divide by 3, divide by 3. So x equals -3. So the way we can write that in an ordered pair so that we can graph it is -3, 0. And then when we graph when we try to find the y-intercept, we can do the same thing we just did, except we're going to put 0 in for x. So 3 times 0 minus 9y equals -9. And then 3 times the 0 is 0, so I don't really have to rewrite that. -9y equals -9. Divide by -9, divide by -9. So y equals +1. So that in an ordered pair is 0, +1. So then on a graph, you'll graph, this point will be along the x-axis. This point will be along the y-axis, and then you will just connect those 2 points and you have your graph. On number 9, you're asked to find an equation of the line that goes through a point and is parallel to an equation. So parallel means same slope. So if I list the slope of this equation is 4, so then the parallel slope, that's what those little lines mean, the parallel slope is 4, and the perpendicular, that's what that line means, is 4 is flipped over into 1/4, but then it's the opposite sign. So the perpendicular slope is -1/4, but we are looking to use the parallel slope. So now we're going to go back to the point slope formula. That is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So my point here is x1, y1. So this y stays minus, and then my x1 was 2, or sorry, my y1, pardon me, was 4, equals, the slope was +4, x minus, and my x1 was 2. So now I just simplify this. And I'm going to do that over here. So I've got y minus 4 equals, and then I need to multiply each of these. So 4 times x is 4x, minus 4 times -2. And then I'm almost there. I need to get the y by itself. So plus 4 on both sides of the equal sign. So y equals 4x minus 4, and that is my new equation. So number 10, you are asked to write an equation of the line through a point and is perpendicular to the equation. So we start by finding the slope, which is -3/5. The parallel slope would also be -3/5. And then the perpendicular slope is flipped over, so 5/3. And then we take the opposite sign of negative, which would be positive. So our perpendicular slope is +5/3. And our point, we've got x1, y1. So again, our formula is the point slope formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So this y stays minus, and my y1 is 5, equals, the slope, remember perpendicular, is 5/3, parenthesis x minus, And then my x1 is -5. So in my next line, I need to clean that up a little bit. So y minus 5 equals 5/3 x, and then I have negative minus a negative, so plus 5. And then the next line. So then to finish this one up, well, not quite. We've got y minus 5 equals, and then I need 5/3 times x. So 5/3 x. And then 5/3 times 5 is plus 25/3. And then I need to get y by itself. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides of the equal sign. But since we use the Desmos scientific calculator, we don't have to worry about that fraction being something that's difficult to work with. So y equals 5/3 x. And then I'm going to get into my calculator and do 25/3 plus 5. And as a fraction, that is 40/3. And that is my new equation.